Cowboy Jim. I was doing something. I did my last video, and a little blurb came up on my phone, and it was a news thing, and I looked at it, and it said two members of Parliament or whatever of NATO over there had spoken openly, harshly with Prime Minister Trudeau. And one was Mislav Kolakuzic of Croatia. And he just ripped Trudeau. He said, we see what you believe in freedom and democracy, and you trample women with horses and you block bank accounts. He said it may be liberal methods, but really it is a dictatorship. And I thought, oh, damn, that's pretty good. And then, so he was from Croatia. And then a German MP, a little lady, Christine Anderson, took the floor. Oh, dear Lord, she took the floor. And she said, a prime minister who openly admires China, CCP, should be ashamed. And who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists. She ended her speech by, and it was fairly long. This is in NATO. This is our prime minister of whom I am ashamed. Oh, jeez. Then she ended her speech by telling Trudeau that he was a disgrace for any democracy, and please spare his, no, please, shoot, I get too excited. Hey, and please spare us your presence. I mean, really. I think that was absolutely, bar none, flat out wonderful. Not that our prime minister should be picked on, but that our prime minister should be picked on because of the errors of his way, plural, ways. I think that's fantastic. And how I looked that up, I don't know how to Google and things like that. Hey, okay. So I put YouTube on, and I put NATO leaders pick on Trudeau for his handling of the Canadian freedom fighters. My goodness. I think that's fantastic. I truly do. Can you imagine we Canadians, the most polite, easy to get along with people in the world, have a leader who is that abhorrent to earn the disdain of fellow NATO members? I was so impressed with whatever I can say, okay? Mislav Kolakuzic of Croatia, and a wonderful little German girl, Christine Anderson. I mean, really. It was my humble opinion that Trudeau should have been ashamed. And he's not done. It's out of the limelight, okay? I mean, the Freedom Convoy truckers, they started something in the world. They started a protest in the world, for you and I, whose collars are blue, this one's green. But I mean, in our disappearing class of people. There were three: upper class, middle class, lower class. Hey, not disparaging people in the lower class. Most often people just need a foot up, a hand up, and they have enough guts to succeed, pull themselves to where they want to go. But in our world, what is happening now is very simply this: the influence of wealth to make the cost of living, inflation, huge, and a huge effect upon us. They are, and not everybody who is rich is a jerk. But Socrates had quite a bit to say about that. And he said the rich try to get richer at the expense of the poor. And when the poor have had enough, Socrates had it figured out. He could predict very, very closely. It was not a standardized, systematic approach. He studied each country that was in conflict, whether internally or with others. But he studied what and how the rich were doing to get richer. Because how much is enough? For most people, it's undefined. Because no matter how much they have, they would just like a little more and a little more. And they don't care where it comes from. And he could predict when the poor, the ones who don't have as much as they once had, but they know where it's going, and it's gone to someone who is richer. I have been an entrepreneur all my life of limited success, but I've never had a business that failed. I've never had a business that I bankrupted, that it went bankrupt. I sold some of them, and I just shut others down. But I was always generating a dollar. I believe profit is, it's not a swear word. It's a good word. But if there's never enough profit, you see, you live to work, or you work to live. And that's the difference. If you are so inundated with the brevity of life, the vaporous nature of your life, you really want to count every day as though it's your last, because it very well could be. That's how I live my life. It's how I've always lived my life. So I don't want, I've had some people say, Jim, I don't like how you talk to me. And I understand that. But I talk and I say whatever I believe could be the last thing that I ever get to say. And I want that person to remember my heart, okay? I want to live with my heart and my soul on my shirt sleeves, because I want it to be easily accessible to those around me who I love, I care for greatly. And so that's how I behave. Oh, gee. But I'm into country music. And I remember when Garth Brooks first came out, Ted Storch, he was a friend of mine, bull rider. He was in Olds at the time running a pizza place, but he rode bulls, and he was a rodeo character. He was about 45 and one athlete. He died in his 50s maybe, but it was not because he was a sloth. It was because he lived with his whole heart. And, but, that was a very sad time for me. That was a very hard time to lose a friend. But I ripped myself back from that. And I say, you're living today. You're behaving today, and you're making memories for someone. And finally, someone had enough guts on the world stage to speak to that fatherless child who is our prime minister, who in his arrogance, gee whiz. Gee whiz. So y'all just go ahead and vote Liberal next time. There probably won't be a next time. Because Trudeau, in his deviousness, has made a deal with that other useless party called the NDP. And now they don't have to have an election until 2025. If Socrates were around, my brother-in-law, he studies stuff, smart guy. He figures 2025 won't be much going on after that. That has anything to do with you wanting to be on Earth. Okay. And I just think these times are so exciting because we are seeing history unfold. We're making history. We're watching some corruption being called out. Trudeau, he's still holding on to the money that was donated to the Canadian Freedom Convoy. They're still prosecuting people. They're still carrying on getting their pound of flesh. The Liberal government is still exacting a pound of flesh. Quell an uprising of Freedom Convoy truckers. Beat them down. Press them down. Grind them beneath your thumb, beneath your heel. It's pretty easy if you're liberal. It's pretty easy if, as a liberal, you agree and condone the corruption that is going on today on a world scale. Putin, Biden gave him permission to invade. A reporter asked Biden, well, what are you going to do if Putin invades Ukraine? Biden said, well, if it's a small invasion, that'll be okay. Someone asked that idiot, you have to understand, I hold the American people with the same equal respect I do Canadians, except we Canadians are more polite and definitely more humble. Okay? We know how to dress for the cold. Well, either that or you freeze to death. Jeez. A reporter asked Biden, what are you going to do if Putin uses chemical warfare against the innocent people of the Ukraine? And even if they're not that innocent, they're people. And he said, well, if he doesn't use too much. What's too much? Any is too much. That's that dummy, Biden. That's that dummy. What if he uses a very regionalized, very low atomic bomb? People, we're watching history. And you and I have the privilege of watching corrupted history, corruption in high places. If we ever get a chance to vote, you want to make sure your vote counts. I'm telling you. I have never heard a statement in the history, my history, 72 years, about Canada that held us as Canadians with our leader, because of the leader, we were held as Canadians with something less than respect. Not so much us, that fatherless child, Justin Trudeau, in the Liberal Party, and for all that matters, the NDP. We should be ashamed of Justin Trudeau and what he has done against freedom, democracy. But he and Biden, half the other liberals in the world, they want democracy to be non-existent, to be gone, so that, as Biden says, his new world order will have free reign, because our old democratic capitalism, entrepreneurial, you work hard, you save, don't spend more than you make. You work hard, you save, you accomplish. You build not only for yourself, you build for your children, leave them a nest egg and make their life a bit easier. Not too much to spoil them. Okay? So, I just thought that was so wonderful. My prayer would be that more leadership in NATO speak against Canada, not so much Canada as Trudeau, and say it like it is. Say it like it is, because it is. And perhaps somehow that bastard may possibly humble himself and pray, turn his wicked way and turn away from it. But I think that's dreaming. Maybe dreaming the impossible dream that a liberal would stand up for what is right and not just follow the politics of the day in order to get reelected. Okay. Just thought I'd mention that. God bless you.